I'm here at Detroit Lions training camp with Amon-Ra St Brown, and I said as we were preparing to do this that I think you're one of the most interesting people in the NFL, but I think I'm selling you short. You might be the most interesting person in the NFL, and people don't really know. So I just want to go through a little bit
Okay.
of your life story,
Yep.
okay? You spent a lot of time as a kid in Germany, and you weren't bilingual, you were trilingual.
Yep.
Can you tell me the story of knowing and learning three languages?
Yeah. So growing up, my mother's from Germany. So when you're born, you're around your mom a lot. My dad was working, and she only spoke German to us. So that was basically my first language. I was going to a French school in California. So it's an all-immersion French school. I only speak French the whole time. You're out in recess. They're speaking French. Teachers speaking French to you. You want a snack, you got to speak to them in French. There's only 1 hour of English. So I'm going to a French school. My mom is speaking to me in German when I'm with her at home. My dad's speaking to me in English. So I'm learning 3 languages at once. But for me as a kid growing up, it was always normal. It was, when I'm talking to my mom, it's German. When I'm talking to my dad, it's English. Talking to my brothers, it's English, unless, I don't want someone to know what I'm saying. I'll speak German. And then when I'm at school, it's French. So that was kind of my whole life. I was balancing that for all the way until 6th grade. And then in the summers when I was growing up, all the way until high school, my mom's grandparents, so my mom's parents, they lived out in Germany. So we'd visit them every summer, me and my 2 brothers and my mom. We'd go out to Germany, stay at their house. My dad would stay back home because he's working. He'd come visit us every now and then. But in the summer, we'd be in Germany for about 2 months, spend our summers there. It was always super fun with our grandparents. And then, like I said, still going to French school. And then once I got to 3rd grade, my dad, I was in 3rd grade, and my other brother's 4th, 5th. He decided, he's like, you know what, let's send the boys to school in Paris. So he sent me and my 2 brothers to school in Paris for a whole semester.
What did you say when he told you that?
I was so young, I didn't really think much of it. I was always traveling. We've been all across Europe as kids. My parents were big in traveling, so we traveled across the country. We took cruises everywhere. So for me, it was just another, not vacation, but, I'm going somewhere else to go to school. And I spoke French because I was going to a French school. So I didn't think too much of it. I had friends, but I never had like a best friend really growing up. My 2 brothers were my best friends. So shoot, I'm with them. I'm with my mom. I know they're going to take care of me, and let's go do it. So like I said, in 3rd grade, my dad sent us to France, went to school in Paris for a semester, did that. Super fun, one of the best times of my life. And then once I got to 6th grade, the French immersion school in California, it stops at 6th grade. So 7th and 8th grade, I went to regular middle school back at by my house, and then went to high school, and that was that.
Okay, so if I dropped you in the middle of Paris right now, you would know a little bit more than Où est la bibliothèque?
100%. Where's the
you
library?
Yeah, but I'm saying you would be able to function normally.
I would be able to
speak
function
fluently.
normally. You know what? So French is a little different. It's actually, I don't speak it as much as I used to, just because my mom is, like I said, she's German, so
Yeah.
I'm only speaking German to her. And then no one's really speaking French to me, so I don't speak it as much. I understand almost everything,
Yeah.
but like I told some people this, I want to go back to France when I get some free time, maybe next off season, and really just perfect the language again. Because when I see stuff, like I hear people speak French, I understand what they're saying, but then sometimes I try to speak, and there's certain words that I forget that I know if I went there for about 2 or 3 weeks, I would get it all back. But French is an awesome language.
What's
sure.
the benefit to being trilingual and knowing multiple languages?
They say that it opens up a different part of the brain. And, I mean, I think I'm a pretty smart guy. Just in general in life, picking up things, memorizing things. Languages is a big – you got to be able to memorize words. That's a big part of it. And then, conceptually with different language, obviously English is a little different, but German and French, you have conjugations. You got past, present, future tense. So there's a bunch of different things that go on into those languages that can kind of be, tough. But, for me, it's like I tell everyone, it was my life. That's what only thing I knew growing up, and it was normal for me to learn those different languages. I would say as a young kid, I wasn't really fluent in any 3 of the languages, so I felt like when I spoke English, I wasn't fluent. When I spoke German, I wasn't fluent. And when I spoke French, I wasn't fluent, but I was, good enough in all 3. And I remember being a kid and like, man, I wish I could just speak English as good as my friends. But as I got older, I mean, it got easier and got normal. But as a young kid, I was juggling all 3 different languages, and it was kind of tough to be fluent in all 3.
So there is a story that when you were getting ready to go to college, you took the SAT in multiple languages. Is that true?
That's true. Yeah, I took it in English, French, and German.
Wow. I never knew they had the SAT in Germany.
Yeah, they have it. Yeah.
Why did you do that?
It wasn't my choice. It was my mom's choice. She wanted us to do it.
Did you get the same score relatively in all?
German and French were a little lower, but they were still good scores compared to my English.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, like I said, it wasn't my choice. My mom was really, really tough on us on academics. So she's like, "You guys are taking it. You have no choice." I was like, "Okay, let's do it."
I tell people this story about Bill Belichick. Why is he such a phenomenal coach, and why does he know more than everybody else? Well, first of all, his father was the first guy who ever wrote a book about football scouting. He did it in the 50s. Yeah. He was an assistant coach at Navy. And so he was immersed in that. He went to practice at the Naval Academy. And then he would go home, and his mom knew 7 languages and was always asking him to read to her while she was preparing dinner.
Right.
So he would read his lessons or whatever, 4th grade, 5th grade, 6th grade, and, spend an hour with her while she's preparing, the meal. And she's talking to him about all the stuff that he's learning at the time. And I said, what could be a better environment than somebody who grew up in a love of learning and an insatiable love of football like his father had.
Right.
So, and your story kind of reminds me of that to some degree.
Yeah.
I want to ask you, let's go to football. Because to me, you were one of those guys who, on draft day, you could have gone to a lot of different teams and you could have gone in a lot of different places in the draft. 2nd, 3rd, 4th round, whatever. But you told me a story last year that I thought was incredible. After you didn't get drafted on day 2 of the draft, you didn't just go home and drink 9 bottles of whiskey or something. You might have, I don't know. But you didn't just go home and mope. Tell me about day 2 of the draft a couple of years ago, what you did after you did not get drafted.
Yeah, so I had like day 2, I was expected. I thought I was going to get drafted on day 2. I had a bunch of family and friends over. I would say like over 30 people at the house.
In Los Angeles, in the LA area.
In Orange County, yeah.
Orange County,
yeah. In Southern California. NFL sent out the cameras, just in case if I get drafted, they see the live view and they can show it on TV. Had the cameras there, everything. So we waited. Day 2 of the draft, 2nd and 3rd round, obviously. Waited around, saw a bunch of different receivers get picked. I thought I was going to get the call, never got it. And then, I remember the last pick going, I was like, they were announcing the pick. And at that point, it's like, it wasn't me because I would have got the call already. So I knew it was over. I remember saying bye to everyone. Thank you for coming. I'm sorry that, you made some people came from like hour and a half away. I said, thank you for coming. I'm sorry it didn't go the way that, we wanted, that I wanted. And I just remember, crying, being super upset. I didn't want anyone to really see me upset. So I just remember, I drove there. So I'm going to drive back.
You got in the car alone?
Got in the car alone. Went back to my, I was Airbnb a place in Newport with my brothers. Going back, super upset, crying. And just, I would say, one of the days that I'll never forget for me as a player, as a person, just how mad I was, because I'll just leave it at that. How upset I was, and then going back home, I was like, I can go to bed. I can feel sorry for myself. I was like, you know what? Let me get on this jug machine. Let me catch my balls like I always do. So I got on the jug machine. I go home at like 12:30.
Where is it? Where is that?
This is
Where's Jugs machine?
In the garage at my Airbnb. Yep.
Okay.
It's like 12:30 at night.
Who fed the machine?
My brothers were still up. They were all there with me. So
they knew that you needed them that night?
They knew, yeah. They stayed with me. I was like, let's go. Let's get it in. It's no time to rest now. So got home, got on the jugs, caught 202 balls.
Why 202?
It's always been my number growing up. It's kind of a story that, when I was a kid, there was this other kid that we met that had really good hands. My father was with me. He did everything with us, and he caught we asked him what he does, and he said he catches 200 balls a day. So we're like, you know what? We got to be better than him. We got to catch 202. So 202 was always my number. And it's just a little reminder that.
So that night on the draft in the garage.
Yeah.
You caught 202 balls.
202.
Glistening with sweat.
It wasn't bad, yeah. A little sweaty.
So at the end of it, do you feel better, or are you still totally pissed off?
I'm still pissed off, 100%. But for me, it's like I'm just gonna go that much harder. For me, it was they just woke someone up for me. That was the mentality I had. Whoever picked me that next day, I knew I was gonna go. I didn't care who they had at receiver. I was gonna go in there and give it my all every day. And that's what I did when I came here. It was, I didn't know many people here, far away from home.
But in some ways, that was good, wasn't it?
I think so.
Yeah.
I think it was.
Come and prove yourself in a totally foreign place where there aren't 100 things to do. There's football.
Right.
Yeah.
I think it was good for me, and I'm glad I'm here. I think it, couldn't have been a better situation for me. I love it here. But like I said, at the time, I was pissed off. It was probably one of the most pissed off times I've been in my life.
But you use that.
For sure.
Yeah. Do you ever look back on it and say, I'm glad that happened because of what it did for me? Or are you still pissed off and you still think you should have gone way higher?
I think both.
Yeah.
Both for sure. I'm still pissed off to this day, and that's why I go so hard. Just every year, I want to make them pay for what they did. The teams that passed up on me, even if I saw some guy after my rookie year, he was like a scout on I think it was like the Panthers or something, or the Seahawks. He's like, I saw him in an elevator. He's like, man, good season. And I was like, yeah, you passed up on me. And he's like, yeah, we did. And that was that. So little things like that I never forget. The teams that interviewed me, the guys they picked before. I'm watching. I still keep track of the guys.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you that.
Yeah.
Do you really know all 16 players?
I do.
And you
want me to do it right now?
Yeah, I want you to do it right now.
On live, you ready?
Ready.
You got to count all. You got to count with me.
I'm gonna count.
All right.
1.
Jamar Chase, LSU.
2.
Devontae Smith, Alabama.
3.
Jalen Waddle, Alabama.
4.
Rashad Bateman, Minnesota.
5.
Kadarius Toney, Florida.
6.
Tutu Atwell, Louisville.
7.
Rondo Moore, Purdue. Elijah Moore, Ole Miss.
8.
Terrace Marshall, LSU.
9.
Dwayne Eskridge, Western Michigan.
10. Dwayne Eskridge, Western Michigan.
Yep. Nico Collins, Michigan.
11.
Anthony Schwartz, Auburn.
12.
De'Ami Brown, UNC.
13.
Josh Palmer, Tennessee.
15.
Or
no, 14. Sorry.
Yep. Josh
2
Palmer,
more.
Tennessee. Amari Rogers, Clemson. Des Fitzpatrick, Louisville. Amon-Ra St Brown, USC.
You got them all.
Yeah.
And do you have it in your locker? Do you have it? Where is it?
So actually, I have it in my notebook. I have my goals written on my notebook. I read it 3 times. My goals, I read it 3 times every day before I go out to practice. Have 2023 goals, boom, at the top. Have the stats that I want, whatever, yada, yada, yada. Then I have round 4, pick 112, never forget. Then I have 1 through 16. I have all the receivers written, where they went to school. Bang, on that notebook. I read the whole thing 3 times before I go to practice every day.
Oh. Do any of those guys have more catches than you right now?
More catches? No, not more catches.
Take a little pride in that?
Yeah, it's cool, but I got to keep going.
Yeah.
Last year was last year. You got to be consistent in this league. And like I said, you're only as good as your last year. So I'm back at 0. I got to restart.
I want to ask you about this year. I wonder what you thought the night the NFL released the schedule. And you say, wow, we're going into the den of the Super Bowl champions. We got to beat the great Mahomes. What did you think that night when you saw it?
I was excited, honestly. I feel like, when I first got here, I remember my rookie year, we had 1 primetime game. I don't count really Thanksgiving. That's like a tradition. We had 1 primetime game my rookie year. That was Monday night, week 2 against the Packers. And that was it. Every other game, 1 o'clock, 1 o'clock, 1 o'clock. I remember talking to my brother. He's like, he was on the Packers at the time. They had 7 o'clock.
Equanimous St. Brown.
Yep,
yeah.
Correct. He had 7 o'clock games. He had Monday night, Sunday night. He's playing at different times. I'm watching him on TV, prime time, almost like every 4 weeks. I'm like, man, it must be nice to get all those prime time games. I'm over here 1 o'clock every week, same time, same schedule. Nothing's changing.
No national games.
No national games. I'm like, it's fine. We'll get through one day. And then last year, again, I think we had I know we had the Thanksgiving game. We might have had one other primetime game, and that was it. And I was like, oh, here we go again. So we started off the year, whatever, 1-6, whatever it was, and then started winning some games. And then, flexed our last game Sunday night. And we went on that roll, finished 9-8. And then this year, I wanted to play in Germany initially. I was texting, Ellie and the PR people here to see what's the news on the Germany game. Are we going to get it? Are we not? And I'm half German, so that Germany game would have been awesome. But they told me, it doesn't look like we're going to be playing in Germany. I was like, it's fine. And I found out the reason why we're not is because we have the opening game against Kansas City. And I was like, that's a pretty good trade. I'll take it. Week 1, everyone's watching. One of the most watched games of the year is opening day against the defending champs in Arrowhead. Heard it's one of the loudest stadiums in the league. So I'm super excited. I know this team. We're going to be ready. And I can't wait for us just to go out there. And, I'm just happy for the Lions, for us as a team to finally, get some people to watch. I'm not saying we're going to go out there and win. I don't know what's going to happen. The season is still ahead of us, but I'm just glad that we have an opportunity to show what we can do.
Last thing. So I think America thinks the Lions are a good story. Obviously, ended the year last year great. But I don't think anybody really knows, are you ready? Are you ready to be a true contender? Are you ready to play January and February games? Deep down, what do you think?
Obviously, I think we are, but that might be a biased opinion. We have to prove it to everyone. We have to prove it to ourselves. It's a long season. A lot of great teams in this league, in our division, a lot of great teams. So we got to prove it week in and week out. I can see why everyone thinks that. The Lions haven't done much for the last, you name it, decades. I mean, they haven't won many games, haven't won many playoff games. Shoot. So for us, we got to go out there and prove it every week. We got to put the work in right now. It starts now in camp. And then, moving forward to preseason and then week 1 and just putting that work in every week. And I think in this league, if you win games, that's all you really have to do. Winning speaks for itself. And that's it at the end of the day. If you win games, you kind of, you can shut people up. So at the end of the day, it's about winning, and that's what we got to do.
By the way, when you were a kid, was it an absolute constant that teachers and other adults you would meet would ask you to spell your name because they had never heard your name before?
Yeah, they wouldn't ask me to spell it. They would ask how to pronounce it.
Yeah.
Usually when teachers, they roll call in the morning to see who's there and who's not. They would most of the time butcher my name. Sometimes I would correct them, sometimes I wouldn't, because I don't really. If someone mispronounces my name, I'm not one of those guys that's just gonna correct it right away. If you ask me, I'll tell you how to say it. But yeah, they would say it wrong. I'm used to it.
I think I said it wrong. I said Amon-Ra St Brown.
It's close. Amon-Ra.
Amon-Ra.
There you go.
Amon-Ra St
Yeah.
Brown. And by the way, your father added the Saint,
Yep.
right? The crazy thing is your father has one of the most common names on the planet. His name is John Brown.
Yeah.
But tell me why he added the Saint before your last name.
Yeah, so he added the Saint because Brown is actually a slave name. So there's several reasons. Brown's a slave name. He didn't want his kids to have a slave name, so that was number one. Number two is he thought it would look better on the back of a jersey. He knew all along that he wanted his kids to play sports and hopefully be professional athletes. He was a bodybuilder when he was competing. He competed as a bodybuilder, won the Mr. Universe, the Mr. World, and he knew that bodybuilding he liked it, but he wished he would have played football. He told me that. He told us that. But he just loved bodybuilding, and that's what he stuck with. But he knew that his kids, he wasn't going to put them into bodybuilding. He was going to make sure that they're going to play sports. It's just better financially, better business. It's going to be just more fun. as a kid, you can play more sports. So that's what we did. We played a bunch of different sports growing up. But the name St. Brown, he was actually choosing between St. and Vaughn. So as my first, Equanimeous was about to be born, he didn't know if he wanted to be Vaughn Brown or St. Brown. And he stuck with St. Like I said, Brown's a slave name. He didn't want that. He didn't want his kids to have slave names. And then St. Brown, he's like, that just sounds better, looks better on the back of a jersey. And I can't agree with him more. I think, Amon-Ra Brown doesn't sound too cool. I think St. Brown sounds a lot better. So I love my name. I'm glad he did it. But, yeah, that's the story behind it.
Amon-Ra St. Brown, have a great year. Thanks
you.
a lot for talking to me.
Thank you so much.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.